When it comes to post-apocalyptic hellscapes, everybody expects zombies and mutants. But in the mind of Mark Schultz, a pollution-ravaged Earth was the perfect time to reintroduce dinosaurs. That's right, we're talking about Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, the 30-year-old comic book series that eventually led to a short-lived cartoon series on CBS. It was also the star of two completely different video games. An old-school beat-em-up from Capcom, and an on-rail shooter from Rocket Science Games. Turn back now if you don't want to know what happens next, because today we're going to spoil the stories and endings for both Cadillacs and Dinosaurs in the arcade and the Second Cataclysm on the Sega CD. This is Game Over, the early years.
Back in the year 2020 AD, the Earth faced the devastation of the first great cataclysm. Earthquakes, torrential rains, tidal waves, and the melting of the polar caps signaled the unprecedented fall of an era. Billions died, and entire species were consumed. The few surviving humans huddled beneath the surface in steel tubes and waited. During these years, the human mechanics became the leaders of a new society. It was their task to keep running the machinery that enabled their tribes to survive. 450 years after it had sealed itself off, humankind returned to the daylight and was greeted by a radically altered world. A world that logically should not exist. A world where every creature that has ever inhabited the Earth now lives within the timeless ecosystem known as the Cenozoic Age. Given the chance, would the humans remember the Machinatio Vitae, the machinery of life, to revere the Earth and always preserve a balance among its creatures? Or would they revert to their destructive ways of the past?
That's the introduction to the Sega CD game, but the setup remains the same no matter which version you play. We're gonna deal with that game in a minute, but first I want to take a look back at the very first Cadillacs and Dinosaurs adaptation, which was an arcade cabinet released in 1993 by Capcom. It starts with a dinosaur attack, which strikes everybody as a little bit odd because they rarely go after humans. Maso Bradovich concludes that it must be the dark marketers' doing, since they have a long history of capturing and skinning the innocent dinos. Hannah Dundee shares this concern, and Jack Tenrick rallies everybody together to crush anybody that would mess with the natural balance. This sets up a totally forgettable beat-em-up that will immediately remind you of Capcom hits like Final Fight and Captain Commando. We start out on what used to be Manhattan, where our heroes are ambushed by a bunch of Vice Turnhoon's thugs. We fight through the building before throwing ourselves out of a window and getting into a one-on-one fight with the youngest brother of the Terhune family. Actually, it's not exactly a one-on-one fight, since he's been keeping a dinosaur locked up and it's out for blood. Vice warns us that Butcher is hunting in the woods and is legit crazy. That's just the tip we needed, so we take our Cadillac into the woods and hunt Butcher's men while simultaneously trying to avoid the roaming dinosaurs. This leads to an epic knife fight with that crazy guy and his fat friends, followed by an incredibly reckless driving sequence where you're going out of your way to just run over as many people as possible. When we get back to Jack's garage, we find out that it's been completely ransacked. This does not sit well with our team, so it's off to get revenge and find out who's at the center of this attack. As it turns out, a skinny fighter named Slice is responsible, and he's waiting for you at the end of a large factory. We kick his ass and assume the job is done, but wait, there's trouble on the other side of that two-way radio. It's off to the burning village in an effort to save the survivors. Now, it's during this mission that we meet an old man who refused to help those evil men commit crimes against nature, but he's shot before he can give us a name. As it turns out, the name he was going to give us is Dr. Fessenden. As luck would have it, Jack thinks he knows exactly where to find him. By using an elevator and traveling deep underneath the city, our team finds an old library guarded by a couple of meatheads. They also get a message from the evil doctor himself, mocking the good guys for thinking they can stop him from creating a new world. Speaking of which, our next stop is the Underworld, where we begin to get a taste of Fessenden's awful plan. He's growing and modifying dinosaur-like creatures, which apparently include Blanca from Street Fighter II. We follow an underground river which takes us to a rocky part of the cave. It's in this laboratory where the bad doctor does the unthinkable. He turns his frail body into a human-dinosaur hybrid. And just when you think you've seen it all, he turns himself into an even bigger, scarier two-headed dinosaur after we kick his ass. Now, you would think that this would give him enough power to finish off the Cadillac crew, but it's all for naught. Our heroes are there to punch him enough times to knock him out. And this is what happens next.
It was only a nightmare, but it felt so real.
No! No! Stop! You'll upset the balance! You'll destroy the city!
Quahoon, Tenrek. You're in an awful mood when you don't get your sleep.
Cut the wisecracks, Hannah. What are you doing here in the middle of the night?
I just had the worst nightmare of my life. Earthquakes and mutant slithers. I dreamt the Second Cataclysm, just like before, only this time there were no survivors. What is it, Jack?
Hannah, get in the Cadillac. We've got a long drive ahead. We're going to see the Griff.
I don't think the Griff will be interested in my crazy dream.
Neither would I, if I hadn't just had the same crazy dream.
Contrary to the arcade game, the dinosaurs at the start of the Sega CD shoot-'em-up are only attacking humans in their dreams. The confusing part is that both Jack and Hannah had the same dreams at the exact same time, which can't be a coincidence. They decided to set out to tell the Griff, a mysterious race of super-intelligent lizard men who can seemingly communicate with the dinosaurs. Hobb explains that nature is once again out of balance, and it's up to the Cadillac crew to repair the problem and keep the Second Cataclysm from happening. Neither Jack nor Hannah know exactly what to make of this dire warning, but they think they find a clue in the forest when they discover a tree with this disgusting growth forming all over its trunk. They decide that it would be a good idea to check in with the Hammer and his band of poachers to find out if they've noticed anything strange.
I'm dying to find out what they're hiding in there. Stay low, Jack. One of Hammer's armed goons is standing guard in the lookout tower.
Wahoo! Looks like Hammer's business is booming.
They're not poachers. They're cold-blooded murderers.
My men managed to roll out quite a welcome for our visitors. Old Cadillac Jack and the Wassoon are history. You owe me big time for this, Sean Horse.
You've taken credit for Tenrek's death before, Hammer. Bring me the corpses, and you'll get what's coming to you.
Sure. I'll have them gift-wrapped and delivered to your office.
Take them to my hidden factory. I'll meet you there.
Drop your weapons, both of you.
Jack, Tenrek, and the Wassoon. What a surprise to see you so alive. We'll have to do something to correct our miscalculations.
What are you and Scharnhorst up to, Hammer?
What's this hidden factory?
Sean Horst's eggheads have found a way to speed plant and animal growth. They say one farm can feed the entire city and the sea. But when the stuff's used on slithers, I can snatch a litter of pups, cage them up, and grow them big in no time. Then I sell off their parts for major profits.
It would take you and Scharnhorst to dream up something this demented.
You're in no position to criticize, Wassoon. Hey, Hammer! Look what I found! Tenrek's Cadillac!
Hannah, now!
Out of the car, Slither Breath.
Give it up, Tenrek! You'll never make it out of here alive!
Well, that didn't go as planned. Then again, what do you expect from a bunch of poachers? They do their best to escape through the jungle, hoping to get away from Hammer's men. Just as they get out of range, Jack notices something strange. The normally friendly dinosaurs are sick and appear to have the same ugly growths they saw on the tree. To make matters worse, there's a volcano in the distance billowing smoke, which just might be more significant than it first appears. They decide to race towards the erupting volcano under the belief that it had something to do with Scharnhorst's plans. Here's what they find.
We've circled this volcano 3 times already, Hannah. Maybe this is just a wild goose chase.
Don't bet your Cadillac, Jack. Look!
Armed guards. Come on, let's tail them.
Quahoon, Jack. This place is enormous.
What do you say we do a little exploring? Hop in.
Do you know how to drive this thing?
We're about to find out.
Master Chamber. I'd love to take a closer look inside there.
As long as we keep the subjects sedated, it's safe to carry out our experiments.
What the hell was that?
Just the sound of a factory waiting to be destroyed. Let's do it.
Okay, so long story short, we take the train through the facility and eventually stumble upon a vault containing the world's nuclear weapons. Their Grith buddy Hob shows up out of nowhere and explains that the best way to solve the problem is to cause a volcanic eruption using the nuclear weapons, which definitely sounds like the more dangerous approach. To make matters worse, Scharnhorst has decided to unleash the experimental T-Rex we saw earlier in hopes of killing Jack and Hannah. It's a race against time to escape the facility and defeat the T-Rex, which, let's be honest, mostly involves shooting at valves and picking the right tracks. After an exciting chase, this is what happens next.
She's gonna blow any second!
Let's get out of here, Tenrec!
Run, Hannah! We don't have much time!
You have succeeded, Jack Tenrec and Hannah Dundee. The Second Cataclysm has been prevented, and the Machinatio Vitae has been restored.
Until the next time we humans forget our place.
Although neither of these games are very good, I like the different endings. The arcade version offers a bit of a fake-out, trying to convince you that half of the team perished in a big explosion. This wasn't the case, of course, and we get a happy ending where everybody reunites and lives to fight another day. It's a pretty good way to end the game, but I can't help but feel like they didn't really earn the emotional punch they were going for. On the other hand, the Sega CD version does a much better job of making us care about these characters, thanks in large part to the voice acting and lengthy cinema scenes. That said, they rushed the ending, and it would have been nice to see a bit more from the entire crew. But look, the resolution is certainly more satisfying. You know, it's a shame that both of these games kinda suck, because there's a whole bunch of potential to this idea. I know the comic is now decades old, and it's not like anybody's clamoring for a new Cadillacs and Dinosaurs game, but I feel like a good developer could turn this into a truly amazing open-world experience where we're constantly fleeing both humans and dinosaurs. Man, somebody needs to seriously pitch that idea to Rocksteady. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Game Over, the early years. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new episodes every Monday. Now here's the question I have for you. Is Cadillacs and Dinosaurs worth rebooting? You know, I think there's a pretty cool concept here, but I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. Let me know in the comments below. In other news, I'm currently hard at work on a bunch of new reviews, as well as a new quiz series, and another episode of Nintendo Power Uncovered. In the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,